You hear that? That is the sound of a Jaguar F-Type. Specifically, it's the sound of a 5-litre supercharged V8 snarling through a stainless steel exhaust. Bliss. It's nothing new, of course. We've been hearing that sound for 10 years now, since 2013.
But in 2023, this sound is on its way out. Jaguar's venerable 5-litre supercharged V8 is being killed off, with this F-Type being the last time we'll ever hear it in a new, or at least newish, mass production Jaguar.
This feels very familiar. I feel like I've driven the F-Type in so many different places, everywhere from New Mexico to Manchester over the years. But it's always such a special experience. You hop into an F-Type and you always feel energized, excited, and engaged. Take it from me, boys and girls, driving this car in this package is a special experience.
So why is this the last ever F-Type? If it's so good, then why kill it off? Well, Jaguar has begun the long, inexorable transition into an electrified future. It's bet the entire farm on moving up the luxury ladder to produce battery-powered cars at price points that will likely see it compete against the likes of Bentley. And that means there's no place in its lineup for dinosaurs like the F-Type. But given the fact this is the company's 75th year, the F-Type 75 seems like a fitting opportunity for a swan song.
But looking at it, you might think that Jaguar haven't actually put that much effort into saying goodbye. I mean, it is available in a special Giola green paint finish with special gloss black alloys to match the gloss black growler and the 75th edition silhouette badge at the side, but from a distance, it just looks like any ordinary F-Type. I'm also a bit disappointed that they've finished this particular press car in a very boring Carpathian grey with grey alloy wheels. It doesn't get much more boring than that. What is this? A funeral? Well, actually, I suppose it is, isn't it? I feel a bit inappropriately dressed now.
Inside, it's a similar story, with almost nothing to set it apart, aside from another 75 badge. The cabin has a proper circular steering wheel with physical buttons, digital screens with an impressive Meridian sound system, and a set of pointlessly flamboyant motorized vents. It's still a two-seater, or as Jag calls it, a 1+1, so practicality is limited.
But the boot is very decent. Check this out. Electrically operated, and inside you'll find a pretty healthy 407 litres of space. That's more than you get in a VW Golf. Why is there a bike in the boot? Well, that's because Auto Trader now does bikes. We do motorbikes, electric scooters, and electric push bikes, a bit like this Brompton folding electric bike. All I've got to do is fold that, extend this, do that, and you're ready to get on the road in style. So these things have a 250-watt hub motor at the front. That's about 700 horsepower, and I barely have to pedal. It does all the hard work for me. A lot of fun. Anyway, back to the V8. That's better. Now, there are a few versions of the F-Type 75. There's the F-Type 75 and the F-Type R75, all available in either convertible or coupe body styles. Both use the same supercharged 5-litre V8, except in the 75, the engine is tuned to make 450 horsepower, and in the F-Type R75, it's tuned to make a whopping 575. We're in the big dog R75 today, and the experience is definitely dominated by that engine, not just because of the power and not just because of the torque, which is a massive 700 Newton meters, but mainly because of the torque delivery. It feels incredibly muscular. The Jag is quite unusual in that it's one of very few cars on the market that is supercharged, and that means that there's very little lag. If you hop in any modern sports car today that uses turbos, whether it's single turbos or bi-turbos or any other setup, quite often what you'll find is that there's a bit of a dead zone between 1,000 and 3,500 RPM. You put your foot down, and I'm going to pick on the Aston Martin DB11 here, but you put your foot down and nothing happens. In this, you put your foot down and all hell breaks loose pretty much immediately. If you want to overtake someone or just fancy seeing how long it takes to headbutt the horizon, then superchargers, they do it best.
Obviously, there are downsides too. The V8 F-Type drinks fuel. It'll get 27 miles per gallon officially, but expect closer to 20 if you push it hard.
The noise is absolutely outrageous as well. It's one of the unique selling points of the F-Type. In fact, if anyone out there were to suggest to me that the F-Type had the best exhaust note of the last decade, I wouldn't put up much of an argument because it sounds utterly breathtaking. There's a loud mode and a quiet mode, but even in the quietest mode, it sounds absolutely outrageous. It's a little bit quieter for this generation of F-Type. I remember when it first came out, you drive past cars in the street and just set off car alarms everywhere you go. And then when you accelerate, when you find an open road, it would sound a bit like a war zone. Helicopters, bombs, pops, crackles. So engaging. Things are a little bit different for this generation of F-Type. The exhaust is now stuffed with various gas particulate filters and catalytic converters, so it doesn't pop as relentlessly as it used to. But it's still such a glorious noise. Wow. While the engine is the star of the show, it's not working alone. It's hooked up to an all-wheel drive system and an 8-speed quick-shift gearbox, and both are very impressive in this car. Let's talk about that all-wheel drive system first. The torque is magnificent. You can pull off at pretty much any speed as hard as you want, and it just hooks up and accelerates. 0 to 62, done and dusted in 3.5 seconds, flat out 186 miles an hour. It's a quick car, believe me. And as I've said, the supercharger means it's quick in any gear at any RPM. You want fury, it delivers. As for the gearbox, 8-speed ZF, it's a pretty commonly used transmission. It's used in the likes of the BMW M3 and M4 and in the Aston Martin DB11, but in those cars, I find the boss can be a little bit lethargic and uninteresting to use, but in this, Jaguar have tuned the software so that it reacts in the same way as their SV Project 8 car. You know, their big 4-door limited run saloon monster, and it works an absolute treat. When you shift up, the whole car shudders and shakes, not just from second to third, but third to fourth, fourth to fifth. You feel that vibration being sent through the entire car, through your hands and through your body, and you feel part of the experience as a result. The downshifts aren't as snappy as you'd get in a DCT, but it's snappy enough. This is a wonderful gearbox.
The F-Type suspension is fairly soft for a sports car, so there's some body roll, but it's well controlled and the ride is comfortable on rough roads.
The steering is very good. It's not brimming with feel, but it's very precise. A lot more precise than when the car first went on sale. The Generation 1 F-Type felt like you had to make multiple inputs in the middle of a corner, but in this, you make one input and it smoothly turns in a predictable way. And the balance, there's minimal understeer and very little oversteer because it just grips and goes. It's an easy and fun car to drive. Will I miss the F-Type? I mean, it's an old car, it's been around for donkey's years, but I will definitely miss it. I've got so many memories with this thing, from knocking around London, annoying the neighbors with the exhaust, to driving around the Top Gun air base in New Mexico, trying to outrun Ken Block in Utah, RIP, and of course, reenacting Norman Dewis's famous run from Coventry to Geneva in 2016, trying to deliver the first ever F-Type convertible to the Geneva Motor Show. So many brilliant memories, but hardly surprising because it is such a brilliant car.
As sad as it seems, time waits for no one in the world of cars. Things constantly change, and it's clear Jaguar is now looking to the future, and not a minute too soon. The company has made a huge impact in its first 75 years, but has arguably been too slow in defining what its next 75 years will look like. It's safe to say nothing it creates will be quite like the F-Type, so it's worth enjoying this slice of automotive history while we still can. F-Type, we salute you.